Hello, my dear viewers. I come to you today from the Wormways. A Wormways that is infected with a disease very similar to the kind of disease we saw back in the first Hollow Knight, one that the Pale King was able to stave off, but which looks like might be taking root here in Farloom, the disease of Lifeblood. And the disease of Lifeblood infecting the enemies and the world of Farloom means these enemies will be regenerating HP exceedingly quickly. And when you don't deal a ton of damage on your own, that is a problem. As you can see, I deal 6 damage per needle strike. I will deal more once I get my Hunter Crest stats up, but 6 damage is my base damage. Or more accurately, 5 damage, because I am here with a needle that has not been upgraded once. Now, this is a hacked save file, because unfortunately I will have to spoil the fantasy on all of you. You cannot get to Act 3 without upgrading your needle at least once. It is a hard requirement that you have at least needle 2 once you get to Act 3. But I disagree with that. That makes my job easier, and I don't want an easy job. I want to try to beat Plasmified Zango with no upgrades at all. And no upgrades at all means no tools either. Get these off my person. And you know what? I accidentally upgraded my Hunter's Crest. So why don't we get rid of that as well? Go to a crest that can't be upgraded, like the Wanderer. Yes, I could use the Reaper, but I don't want to torment myself so much. Now, you may ask Kilroy, why do this challenge? For the randomizers. The people who play randomizers and get to the first area of the game, they have a lot of fun. They go, "Oh, this is wonderful. I love playing Hollow Knight Silksong. Ha 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 ha. What a great game." And then they come across this. Plasmified Zango in the first boss arena of the game that you cannot skip because the enemy that you would normally skip with is no longer available. It is for you, who is playing the game in this very strange and specific manner, that I'm trying to find out if it is possible to beat Plasmified Zango in that state, with no upgrades and just a crest. And as you can see, it is hard to even beat a basic enemy when you have no upgrades to your needle. It is hard to beat a basic enemy with no upgrades already, but when enemies heal at the rate provided to them by Plasmium/Lifeblood, it becomes nigh impossible to outdamage it. Now fortunately for me, enemies will not heal when infected unless they stop getting hit for a very short period of time. Anywhere between like half a second to a full second. That brief window is all that lets me kill these enemies, because if I ever stop going on the offensive, they will heal far faster than I will ever be able to damage them. And this is with all enemies in this area, but of course, these are basic enemies, so at the end of the day, they do not have the health pools that a boss would have. Unfortunately, there is one singular boss in this game who has the health pool of a boss and the healing capabilities of Lifeblood, Plasmified Zango, what many people consider to be one of the worst bosses in Hollow Knight Silksong. He's essentially a DPS race, and people say he's poorly designed. I would tend to agree. However, just because he's poorly designed does not mean that he softlocks you if you don't have upgrades. And I'm going to prove that in this video by killing Plasmified Zango with not only no upgrades, but with less upgrades than is technically possible at this point in the game. No tools, a baseline needle, and nothing else. We will be taking down Plasmified Zango to prove to all you randomizer players that you can do it too. And yeah, it turns out that even when you have the weakest needle in existence, it does 10 damage to Zango, because he doubles the damage you deal to him if you have a baseline needle. And when you have the Wanderer's Crest to attack as fast as you possibly can, even when you have no upgrades, you can take down Zango with relative ease. I came into this video thinking it might not even be possible to beat Zango with a needle with no upgrades and no tools at all. But apparently, it's exceedingly easy as long as you put on the Wanderer's Crest. I think this is the second attempt I made against Zango, and he just dies. The amount of HP he regenerates is negligible when you can attack as fast as you can with the Wanderer's Crest, and just having the opportunity to crit is the icing on the cake. Like, it's the amount of mass I have, and the attack speed. That's what makes this easy. So I saw this and I thought, that was way too easy. How about I actually replicate the scenario I brought up earlier? If we're getting prepared to fight Zango as the first enemy in a randomizer, how about we go back to a less upgraded Hunter Crest? And how about we remove all our movement abilities from this game as well? So I came back and changed my save file to give myself an unupgraded Hunter's Crest. And while doing that, I also decided to give myself another form of starter abilities, that is to say, no abilities. The only ability I have is the Sylph Song, and I left my hearts, but I realized after doing an attempt that even with these limitations, having 10 masks still gives you way too much freedom to damage tank Zango, and when you can damage tank as much as you want, this fight loses a lot of its difficulty in not being able to let Zango stop regenerating. So, I came back with a save file truly representative of what it would look like the second you finished the beginning of Hollow Knight Silksong. This save file I'm fighting Zango with is essentially the save file you will have after beating Moss Mother and stepping into Bone Bottom. And I'm going to show you the glory and majesty of what it looks like trying to fight Zango with absolutely no upgrades and abilities. This save file now has no soul carts, it has no upgrades to the spool or to my health, it has no tools, it has an unupgraded Hunter's Crest, and it has an unupgraded needle. And what that means against Zango, the thing that really makes the difference here is the HP. Because with the HP I have being this low, I can take a maximum of 3 hits from Zango, and then I'm dead. So, if I'm ever close to death, I have to go away and try to farm up Silk to heal, as one would do. But the problem with Zango is that you don't have time to do anything but attack him. The second you try to do anything but attack him, his health is back to full. And it's especially back to full because I deal 10 damage, and he regens 25 HP for, I think it's every second, it might be less than a second. And he starts regenerating in about half a second if you don't hit him immediately. And because I don't have any movement abilities, I don't have the luxury of being able to sprint back to Zango or use the claw line. The claw line? We've got one form of attack, sir. And that form of attack is walking next to him and swinging our needle. And it's why at this point, if you're not at full health, sometimes it's better just to leave and reset the whole fight. Because your options are A, dying, which makes you have to run all the way back here, or B, not dying, but starting from square one. And starting from square one is the less awful option there. And it's still awful, because guess what? 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. And that is with 0 healing from Zango. You have to hit Zango 100 times in a row without taking damage 3 times. And if you do take damage, you probably just added another 15 more hits to your requirement there. So yeah, all this time I've been talking, I have managed to get Zango under half. And this is the real problem with not having movement abilities. We've talked about the woes of not having HP. When you don't have movement abilities, Zango will do his little slink dash away, like the slug he is, and when he does that, normally, you run next to him and continue your onslaught. But when you don't have the ability to run, Zango will instantly get a heal off, and he'll probably get more than one heal off. So, you start to lose the ability to outdamage his healing, because if you just want to be as aggressive as possible, then you're likely going to get hit, because his attacks become more reckless, and they start to cover the screen. It becomes a bullet hell. I am truly experiencing what it's like playing the original Hollow Knight with no upgrades. Imagine fighting Nightmare King Grim or Pure Vessel, but you don't have the ability to dash. Not even not having the Shade Cloak. You don't have the ability to dash, period. You can fight normal Grim without dashing. That's not easy either. Imagine fighting endgame bosses in that game without the ability to dash, and with no upgrades to your damage at all. That is what I was experiencing with Zango. And I'm showing you one attempt here. This is one of dozens. It took me multiple hours, and I was close to giving up on multiple occasions in this fight against Zango. But patience and practice is always rewarded, dear viewer. When you put in the effort, you will see the results. And I am about to show you the results right now. I learned the strategies that come with trying to fight like this. You want to keep Zango as far right or as far left as possible, because in these specific sections of the room, his attacks hit the ceiling very frequently, which gives you more opportunities to stand there and wail on him. Even when you take damage, if you're in an earlier stage, you want to back off for a second and come back in full force. If you're in a later stage, that's when you have to commit. When it's earlier, you still have the chance to corner him and get as much damage as possible so he can't regen at all. Once he starts moving though, that's when you have to be on top of it. You take damage, it doesn't matter. You keep going. You keep going after Zango. You keep getting him down. You can't dash, but you can hit him. I don't do pogos because pogos take too long. You want to do attacks always upwards and always side to side. When you do this consistently, it doesn't matter if he gets 1 or 2 regen procs off. You just keep attacking. You're close to death, you keep attacking. He's close to death too. It doesn't matter that you're close to death if he's close to death, because when he dies, you don't. And you become the victor. You become likely the first person to have beaten Plasmified Zango with a needle that has never been upgraded and no movement abilities. And you prove to the world that if you're doing a randomizer of Hollow Knight Silksong, you can beat Plasmified Zango at any point you see him. You may not want to, but you can. He can be a part of the first gauntlet in the game, and you have all the abilities you need to beat him. And I proved that in this video. And I was extremely happy, because like I said, this took a very long time for me to do. But then I had another strange thought. Can you beat Zango while naked? No, you cannot. The answer is no. This idea was terrible. It's something I had to find out, but it was the worst experience I'd ever had in my life. You deal 5 damage with a normal needle, and that gets multiplied to 10 because damage modifiers affect your needle. When you don't have a needle, you don't get anything. You deal 3 damage while naked, while crestless, while Hornet has nothing to her name except her stupid foot that she attacks with. Why not attack with your hands, Hornet? Why not throw some hands? Why not punch your enemies? No, you just gotta kick them. You gotta kick them and do 3 damage. You do 3 damage to one of the bosses that regens the most HP in the game. So it will take 334 kicks simultaneously to beat Zango. And if you let him regenerate once, well, guess what, Buster? You've got another 9 kicks to go. You got to get in your reps, you know? You got to do some proper work for once in your life. And that is why I didn't want to do this work. You know, I gave it a couple good old college tries at trying to kick Zango to death, but in the end, I don't really think it's possible, and I'm not putting into work to prove it's not possible. You can't prove a negative by just trying to do it straightforward. You have to find some other existential means of proving it. And for me, my existential means of proving this is not possible is that the second Zango will start to dash around and slide on the floor, he is going to be regenerating probably a minimum of 50 HP every time he dashes. And I can't deal 50 HP worth of kicks within every time he dashes, because that would be around 18 kicks. And I can't get 18 kicks off in the couple of seconds between dashes. So you know what, Hornet? Maybe you should pick up some weights. Maybe you should work on that upper body strength. I know you're some kind of demigod, but can you tell me why you got the body looking like that, huh, Hornet? You're not putting in your time at the gym, that's all I'm saying. You need to learn how to... If you learned how to fight people fist to fist, then the next time you get kidnapped by random flies from the slab, maybe you could just destroy them even easier than you did in this game. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about this later. But thank you all for watching. This was entertaining and also infuriating to make as a video. Have a good day.